Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to look at NMAT by GMAC, and there are certain changes now in NMAT as a test, and we will look at the changes, ladies and gentlemen. NMAT is the first test this year, which is announced the notification. Registration is starting from the 1st of August, and that's where it's going to happen. The registration is going to end on the 5th of October. The test will happen in a long window period, 3 months window period. You can pick any of the test date. In fact, you can actually have multiple test date. Those are the things that did not change from last year. There is one thing that do changed this year, which is the section number of questions. Each of these sections now have each of the section has 36 questions. Last year that was different, and the totaling 108 questions, and the time is also for changed from last time. 20 minutes to answer those 32 questions in language skills, 52 minutes to answer the 36 questions from quantitative skills, and 40 minutes to answer those 36 questions from logical reasoning skills, and totaling 220 minutes. So it's a 2-hour test where you'll get 108 questions, and obviously there are these sectional time limit. You can obviously choose the order in which you can take the test. You can decide, let's say I want to start with language, then logic, then quant, or quant from logic to language. So that is something that they allow, with all the 6 options. One of the 6 options, you can choose the way in which you want to take the test. Once you take the test, that get fixed, and the test will have these many questions. Now, they have changed the score range of each of the section from 12 to 120. This is a scale score from 36 to 360. This actually does not mean that each questions carry 3 marks. That is not how they're going to calculate. I think they changed everything. The biggest change they have made this time is that the NMAT by GMAC is a computer adaptive test. Computer adaptive test. So it's a adaptive test. We need to understand what that means, which gives each candidate a personalized test. Each one of you, for example, the test that you are getting and the test someone is getting, these are different tests, personalized tests. This is test is kind of personalized to the ability of each of the candidate. That's what that means. One question at a time. That's another one. So you will get just one question at a time, that is based on the responses to the previous question. So that means question number one, question number two, based on whatever you got in question number one. For example, you got two choices, either you got it right or you got it wrong. So based on whatever happened here, your question number two would change. So that is adaptive nature of the test. Due to the adaptive nature of the exam, the candidates will not be able to review. So you cannot review. There is no end where you can actually review what you did or change answer to the preceding questions, which means the test is moving in one direction. There is no coming back, ladies and gentlemen. I should answer every single question. Let's just understand what is computerized adaptive test means. What is an adaptive test? An adaptive test, so there is one kind of test which is has a fixed number of questions pre-designed. So let's say question number one, let's say to question number 100 is given to every single candidate. Candidate number one, candidate number two, candidate number three, candidate number four. All of them takes this test, and then based on the score that they get, a particular percentile is calculated. So everybody has the same test. People have a different score. An adaptive test performs in a different manner. An adaptive test is usually useful when the test happens on multiple slots. For example, there is a day one, there is a day two, there is a day three, there's a day four. The test is happening in a multiple slot. So every day, so what NMAT used to do is that on every day, every slot, those set of students taking the test on that particular day, all those candidates taking the test used to get that particular test, same set of question. The next day they used to get the same set of question, but a different question from day one to day two, a different question from day one to day two. But all the students who used to take the test on that particular slot used to get the same set of questions or similar set of questions. Now, and then I think that NMAT also experiment by saying that they'll create a pool of question papers. Let's say there's question paper one, question paper two, question paper three, and administer this question paper to a lot of people. So the entire set of questions from question number one till the very last question, let's say 100 for the sake of just explanation, it's pre-decided. The test is pre-decided, the question is pre-decided, and administered to the student. Computer adaptive test works on a very different fashion. And let me give you a chart will kind of helps you understand how the whole thing works. So let's just say that you have this question that starts from question number 1 to 3, and let's take for example the question number 36, which is the 36th question in one particular section. And what the test has got a pool of questions. So it has got lot of questions which they're ready to give. They obviously have more than 30 questions ready to give. The way in which they decide to give you is that each of the question is earmarked at a particular level 1. Let's say for the sake of argument, sake of understanding, not argument, sake of understanding, let's say there are 5 levels of question. Obviously level 5 question, the higher the difficulty level, the better the score. It's like saying that somebody is able to score a level 5 question, which means I have to give him more weightage than someone just scoring a level 1 question. That's another element to this. Now, what the test does is that, so let me just do 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is not the exact algorithm, but this is just to help you understand how this general algorithm works. So now what the test does is the test starts by giving a level 3, okay, the middle level. So it's by taking the test do not know you. You do not know the test. We don't have the relationship. The test gives you the 3 questions. Now you responded the 3 questions. Let's assume that you got question number 1 correct, question number 2 correct, question number 3 also correct. Now the test determines that your level 3 is fine. The test will assume therefore there is no point testing you at level 1 and level 2 because you already answered the level 3 questions accurately. So let me test now with the student with level 4 questions. Now let me give you another 3. Let's say that you got a couple of them correct, and let's say one of them wrong. Okay, let me give you one more chance. Let me give one more chance. Let's give him level 3 as well. So now you let's say that you've got all the 3 questions correct. Okay, now more or less I should also give a few level 5 questions just to check how that person works. Let me give a couple of level 5 questions. Okay, you got both of them wrong. Okay, level 5 is not working. Let me go back and give him some level 4 questions. A level 4 question. Okay, this he got 2 of them correct, then one of them wrong. Let me just try and look at him level 5 once again. Okay, he's again getting those questions wrong. Okay, so it's a level 4, level 3. So then eventually the test kind of decides you are here and you've got quite a few of these questions correct, and some of these questions is level 3, level 4, and then comes out with a particular score. And there is an algorithm that works behind, but by and large this is how the adaptive test works. So based on each of the response that you give, the next question comes. We can look at another scenario. Let's say that let's say, okay, now this I have to clean all this. Just give me a sec. Oops, lot of colors happened there. Okay, let's just clean this. Okay, perfect. Now let's start by another scenario where let's say the first 3 questions are given at level 3. And imagine what would have happened. You got all the 3 questions wrong. So what will the test now think? What is the point in giving level 4? Let me give him some level level 2 questions in this particular. Okay, level 2 question. You got one of them correct, but 2 of them wrong. Okay, now there is a problem. Let me check it with the level 1 question. Level 1 questions. Okay, you got 2 correct, and then let's say one of them wrong. 2 correct, one. Okay, by and large level 1. Let me check him with level 2, level 2 again. So that's how the test moves, right? And eventually the test eventually decides, okay, the gentleman is about level 1, level 2, that's ability. Let me give a score based on that. It's not going to be this simple as an algorithm. I'm just the GMAC does not reveal its algorithm. Even the GMAT as an exam is also adaptive. The adaptive test, they don't reveal the algorithm. But this is by and large it works. So there are a few things that you need to understand here, right? So one of the things that you need to understand is that if I'm getting questions wrong, and if I kind of goes down, it is going to be probably after a particular point in time, probably next to impossible to get it to level 5, probably. Okay, though people say that that may not be the case. The test probably gives, this is probably not how it works. The test randomly gives a few set of questions in the beginning, and then decides where to move. So whatever it is, at the end of the day, it's an adaptive test, which means based on the responses that you give, your next question comes, and also your score is now depend upon that as a progress. One of the thing, of course, you know that you cannot look at a question and say that it's easy or difficult. You cannot do all that. The best thing that you can do is look at a question and answer those questions, but that's how it's worked, which is why this decided to have 36 questions. That's a substantial pool of questions here. Now another So which is what's also mentioned here by GMAC. Scores: you will receive your scorecard with scale score for the sections and total for your NMAT by GMAT. I hope this is clear. I don't know. I probably should have made a better job at cut pasting. Maybe I should just reduce the size. Okay, that probably is better to read. Okay, so exam within 48 hours of giving the exam, you're now what has happened is that you will get a score within 48. In fact, immediately after you finish the exam, immediately after you finish the exam, you'll get an unofficial score because this test has already decided your score. The test is already at the end of the exam. Test has already decided what your score is. So immediately after the exam, you actually get an unofficial score, and the official score is actually you get 48 hours of giving the exam. So that's like in couple of days you'll get to know the score, which may be very useful in one sense for you to look at whether you want to look at the second attempt, whether you want to look at the third attempt. That be useful. You'll notify by email. Scale score. Questions in the NMAT exam are selected from a question pool of each for each examinees based on his or her performance on the questions previously answered. This is something that we understood. The questions are based on what is previously answered. The questions the candidate receives are targeted at his or her ability. Therefore, a high scoring candidate generally receives a more difficult sample of questions than a low scoring candidate. So that's something that I explained. So the higher scoring candidate is obviously going to receive a more higher difficult question because the graph moved up, right? The NMAT GMAT exam is scored by first obtaining the candidate final ability estimate. So there is an ability estimate that it does, something like how I explained it to you, based on the probabilistic model approach of modern exam theory. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. And then transform to a select scale score from 12 to 120. So the least score that you can get is 12 in a section, and the highest score that you can get is 120. So that's how this works. Uh, Now there are other things, of course. This is very clear. Can a test taker review questions and or sections? No review of questions, which means once a question is done, it is done forever. You cannot go back to that question, ladies and gentlemen. And number 6, if a test taker completes answering a section, so एक section जल्दी जल्दी कर दिया for the you to solve one section very fast before allotted time. Does the balance time be added to the next section? Can it do that? No. If a test taker completes answering the section before the allotted time expires, the balance time cannot be added to the next section allotted time. Everything is very strict. Now let's look at, does it change anything? Okay, does it change anything? One thing that you must understand when you go look at this test, at the end of the day, your marks are eventually going to come from that particular question on the screen. So while taking the test, you should not est- uh, think what the computer is going to do. Oh, this question is easy question. Oh my god, my score is down. This question is difficult question. Yay, I'm doing really well. Nothing of that sort. All you have to do is focus on the question that you can see on the screen, for focus on the question that you can see on the screen, and then answer the question. That is the thing that you want to do. Okay. So that is the question. Now the next question is, what is the pattern of question that is going to come? One thing that I'm going to estimate, since in adaptive test they cannot test you on, let's say for example in English, for example, they cannot now test you on too many areas, right? So I cannot give you, for example, too many areas is not possible. I think that the test is eventually going to focus into probably a three type of question. For example, in the GMAT, what you see is that there are one question which is critical reasoning, one question which is reading comprehension, one kind of question is sentence correction. So there is on an average one third question. So I think that instead of what I'll start saying, instead of, for example, in logic as well, what I believe is that what I'll start seeing is that you will have slight lesser number of variation in terms of question. We'll have to wait for this to happen. They'll come out with a sample paper, sample test, all that is happening. We'll just wait. That is okay. So that's actually good news, which means to me this will be a good news, which will that the focus of a preparation will be for a particular type of question if this happens, which I'm guessing it'll happen. The one thing that another thing that is going to change completely, ladies and gentlemen, number 3 is that you have to answer every question. You have to answer every question. So let's say I've got a question on the screen. I will not get the next question if I don't answer this question. So what does that mean? That means that if I suddenly get a question on a topic that I have no clue, no idea, which means your jugaad techniques, jugad, or whatever you want to call, all your problem solving strategies, something that I explained in the previous video. So elimination, all those skill set will be very, very useful. So elimination, substitution, guessing, good guessing, all those other kind of strategies which will be very, very important now, because you have to answer every single question on the screen. I cannot skip anything. Okay, that is number three. So that is one thing, that one additional piece of stuff, and I think that that's a good thing to learn, anyways, because if you learn, it's going to help you in other exams as well. Number four is that you have to complete the paper. You have to complete, otherwise you'll be penalized. Which means, let's say there is question number one and question number 36. For the adaptive algorithm to work, the computer requires all your responses till 36. Now if for some reason you only solved till 30 questions, for the remaining 6 questions the computer has no clue what is going to happen, so you ended up penalizing more. That is what will happen in adaptive tests. In adaptive tests, if you don't complete the section within allotted time, if you leave some question unanswered, you end up getting penalized more than probably answering that question. So one thing that you must understand, you have to complete the paper. You have to complete the paper. Rest everything remains the same. So what does this NMAT change for me? For me is that the basic still remains. So you still have to solve a question. Still have to question. The good news, of course, is the fact that my feeling is that the number of variations in each of the question type, each of the section will reduce, will give us a little more clarity in terms of focusing on the type of question that is going to be given to us. That's something that I believe will happen. We'll have to wait and see. And then you have then these are the impact that is going to happen. You have to answer as accuracy as possible, which means certain other kind of strategies, and those is going to be very, very useful and very important in this kind of test. Not just the conventional problem solving technique, which is like looking at a formula. You have to look at other ways. You have to make your best guess in some of the question, eliminate as much as possible. Let's say you want to take a guess, let me eliminate D, let me eliminate A, so let me take a guess within these two. You have to answer the question, right? And therefore you also have to complete the paper. So at this point in time, don't worry too much. Please do understand, whatever is a change that has happened, it has happened for everyone. It is still okay. I'm sure that we will have enough understanding in days to come. At this point in time, you focus on your preparation. Don't worry too much about this whole thing, and don't evaluate too much, because like I told you, what matters eventually is your ability to answer the particular question on the screen, right? I hope this makes sense. If you have any doubts, please post that on the comment box. I will be more than happy to address those things. Thank you.